a DNA test.
Right.
If I did a DNA test, that would be proof.
Right.
Right now, all I can give you is testimony, all I can give you is my wife's character and all of these things to know that they're my daughters.
Right.
Do you understand? So a belief isn't necessarily unicorns and spaghetti monsters. Yeah? So belief is a result of reason. So I believe a creator exists. Yeah? And I have reasons to support why I believe that. Yeah? I can't prove to you, and I would never make the claim that a creator exists. Because if I say a creator exists, I'm required to prove it, because I'm making a claim. Mm-hmm. Now, would you say, do you believe a creator exists?
I'm sure.
Right, so you don't know if a creator exists, or you don't believe a creator exists. What would you say?
I don't know.
You don't know. Now, the reason why you don't know is because I'm assuming you're using the scientific method to understand things? Observation
really,
and all that.
I'm not particularly enlightened kind of thinker myself. But.
So if you were seeking God's presence or God's existence, what method or tool are you using?
That brings me back to the original question. I don't think that there would be proof in the world. I don't think, if God could, I don't think he would provide 100% scientific proof that he exists, because otherwise
I would agree.
Belief would not mean anything, because it's like believing 1 + 1 = 2. No one worships the number 2. Because there's 100% proof.
Well, I would say that if there was 100% proof of God's existence, so no one was in any doubt, there would be no free will. I would argue that.
Yes.
Because the idea of belief is what? You've studied the reasons and the propositions that have been put forward, you've analysed them, you've contemplated and reflected upon them, and you've concluded either you accept that or believe that, well, it's on, brother, yeah, or you reject that and don't believe that. So I'm with you, so we kind of agree with each other.
Yeah. I want to pick up on...
But I'm trying to understand the point of the question.
Yeah, it's a bit unusual.
I don't mind.
You mentioned earlier that...
A little bit of Tom Jones, we don't mind. Go on.
I like Tom Jones. So you mentioned that... I'll take the example of your daughters.
Yeah, go on, use that.
You said you don't have... You said that belief is having 0% proof.
No, let me reiterate. To believe in something is to accept that something to be true with or without evidence.
Okay.
So you can believe something with evidence, you can believe something without evidence.
I think that
I believe
you're drawing in the middle, you're saying there's a difference. You either got no evidence or you got all the evidence.
No.
But for example, your wife's character, for example, that's somewhat evidence, but it's not conclusive. It's just
I didn't. What did I say? I didn't say proof, did I? Or evidence? I said reason.
Oh yeah, but proof.
I'm not giving you proof.
To work with the example, I think the example you gave is very useful. A DNA test is not 100% complete.
I would agree.
But it's 99.9.
I would say that.
Very good reason.
But I would say this: if, for example, right now I've not had a DNA test yet with my daughters, so right now I can't prove to you that they're my daughters because I need to produce the DNA test. Would you agree?
Okay, yeah, go on.
How else could I prove those daughters are my daughters without a DNA test? It would only need a DNA test.
But this is the thing. So
No. How else could I prove to you my daughters are my daughters?
I don't think you can prove it, but I want to argue with the word proof.
No, but other than DNA test, I agree with the proof.
There's other reasons. So you can.
No. Reasons is not proof.
But a DNA test is just another reason, is it not?
No. Okay, if I was to prove my daughters are my daughters, what if I did a DNA test? Would you say that's proof that my daughters are my daughters or not?
It's 99.9.
I would agree with you. And I'll be honest with you. The reasons why I believe my daughters are my daughter, I would weigh them stronger than a DNA test.
Yeah. So your wife's character might be
stronger,
99.99,
but still not proof.
Yeah. It's still, you wouldn't say that's. So what?
No, I would say it's reason, as you said.
So what would be proof?
I would say.
Doesn't even exist.
No.
So what I'm saying is that belief is not like no belief and 100% belief. It's more of a slider.
Belief is, I'll explain again to you, acceptance of something to be true with or without evidence.
Right.
So for example, I said, do you believe I've got a phone in my pocket? You could believe it or not, innit? You could say, I don't believe you. And then I say, well, look, here's my phone. Do you believe me now? You could say, yeah, I believe you. Right.
All right.
So you believe me now. So a belief doesn't require evidence. So if someone believes something, you can't ask them to prove that something. What you can do is ask them for reasons why they believe that something. Yeah?
Yes.
So if a Christian says, I believe Jesus is God, I can't ask them prove it. Can I? Ridiculous. You can't prove that to me. I could ask you, why do you believe that? And they'll say, oh, because it says it in the Bible. Why do you believe the Bible? Oh, I believe the Bible's the Word of God. Why do you believe the Bible's the Word of God? Oh, because here in Timothy 2:3-16.
Yes.
So until we mine it, and we drill down till we get to the bottom. And if the reason why they're believing can be refuted, we can refute that belief as delusion. Because we have evidence against what they're claiming. Yeah? So that's how I would understand the term belief.
Yeah, I think it works, but then because you said belief is having something and whether or not you have proof of it.
Yeah.
So I think the one type of religious belief would surely be that you don't have proof of it. Because if
No,
like, so for
we didn't
example-
mention proof. I didn't mention proof.
No, but you said a belief can. I'm just clarifying the difference between religious belief and believing like
No.
things like
A religious belief, belief that man landed on the moon, belief that we evolved from a common ancestor, are all the same. There's no difference. The principle remains the same. You want to believe we evolved from a common ancestor? Tell me why you believe we evolved from a common ancestor. You're going to give me DNA, you're going to give me fossil record, then I'm going to say to you, well, there's 5 different models of evolution, and each one used the same data. So they've got the same data, fossil record, DNA, 5 conclusions. Yeah?
Okay, cool.
So it's still not proof. But you can explain to me why you believe this is the way, and you give me the reasons for that. Do you get it? So, do you believe man landed on the moon? Yeah. Why do you believe that? Well, we're told in history that Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and all that, it was on the TV. That's why you believe. That's sound reason. Unless someone can prove man didn't land on the moon, you can accept that reason.
I still think it's a different kind of belief.
Not same. Yeah.
Tell me why.
I'd love a coffee.
Tell me why you think I'm wrong.
Why? Because the principle is the same.
I'll give you my example.
Oh, you're going to tell me why? Sorry.
So I would say that if you ask, like, why do we have a universal common ancestor, and someone would cite to you different scientific, reasons via which they believe that. So they might cite you DNA testing, they might cite you a theory of evolution, or why you land on the moon, they might cite you some physics, they might cite you some history. But all of that evidence still fits into the umbrella of the scientific method. Whereas religious belief, you don't do a
Completely disagree.
test to see that
Completely disagree.
God exists.
I completely disagree. You do a scientific test that man landed on the moon?
I said within the scientific umbrella, so I think it's
All
a
right.
different kind of evidence.
Shall I tell you why I believe a creator exists?
Go on.
And I won't leave logic, reason, or intellect behind, yeah?
Sure.
All right. I believe a creator exists because I believe that everything that begins to exist requires a cause. And I believe the universe began to exist, therefore it requires a cause. I believe that cause needs to be uncaused, otherwise you have the problem of infinite regression.
Yes. I understand.
So I believe in an uncaused cause of all that exists. Now this uncaused cause of all that exists, I believe needs intelligence to have created all of this stuff. And I believe this uncaused cause of all that exists needs power to create all of this stuff. So I believe in the existence of an uncaused cause of the universe and everything that exists, which is intelligent and all-powerful.
Okay.
Did I leave reason? Did I leave logic? Did I leave the scientific method?
You said that we go further and further and further back and we find like the foundational belief. So if I ask you why do you believe that things that are caused necessarily can't have a cause themselves?
Oh, okay, because if you can show me anything in this world that you're aware of that comes into existence or begins to exist without a cause, present it.
But then you're using the scientific method again. You're saying
I just said to you, I haven't left the scientific method.
no, but you're citing the cause of the universe, so everything, and then inside the universe is the scientific method. And you're saying if one domino falls, another domino has to cause it, right?
Of course.
And so on.
Cause and
then
effect.
You're saying that scientific causality, that exists inside the universe, also has to apply to the universe itself. So you're saying within the bubble of the universe there's this,
No, well, you'd have to then, no.
and it also applies to outside the universe.
What you would then is answer the question why you're offering special pleading when it comes to the universe. When we know everything we know that comes to exist, begins to exist, requires a cause. Now all of a sudden because of the universe, you don't know the cause, you apply a special pleading that it didn't have a cause. I would ask you why you present special pleading as a logical fallacy at this point.
No, I'm saying that.
No, but you are. You're presenting that you are. You're implying that the universe is outside of what we know of. So what we know, everything that begins to exist has a cause, and we know the universe. I believe the universe began to exist. Therefore, according to what we know, it must have a cause. And what that cause is, we don't know. This is why atheists will say at this point, we don't know what it is, acting as if they're being honest. And the problem they have is they're not being honest. Because at this point, they've got to understand the assumption of the scientific method is what? The assumption in the philosophy of science is naturalism, meaning everything has a natural explanation. Even if we don't know what it is, it must be natural, which for me is a false assumption, because you can't prove that.
No, I agree.
Now, which tells me now, if a creator does exist, and that great creator does supersede what we know, does supersede the natural, does come into the realm of the supernatural, science is blind to it. Science can't measure it. Science can't recognize it. So if you're someone relying on observation and testing and empirical methods, you cannot use science to prove God, or disprove God, because science doesn't recognize the existence of the metaphysical, the supernatural.
That is where we agree.
Yeah. So once you have that, once you get to that point, then you cannot use science to prove God or disprove God. And I would never do that. What did I say? I said I believe in the existence of a creator for this reason, for this reason, for this reason, for this reason. Okay. For you to challenge my belief, you need to now refute my reasons. Yeah? Okay. So for example, if you produce something that does begin to exist without a cause, you could then challenge my original premise, isn't it? But I know you can't produce anything. You might go to the quantum level, you might talk about these quarks appearing and this, that, the other, but even that, we don't know whether that's just, we're just seeing them at that point.
I'd say that there is a cause, but we just don't understand.
Exactly, right. So that's my saying. Now, a belief, that's my belief, yeah? So what have I done? I've come to the belief in an all-powerful, all-intelligent creator of all that exists, without ever leaving the realm of logic, reason, or intellect. Not once. I didn't mention Quran, I didn't mention miracles, I didn't mention faith, did I?
Okay. So we'll take the cause argument, because it's the one that we're all familiar with, right? So the problem that I would have with the cause argument is you start off, your first premise is everything that is caused must have a cause itself.
Everything that begins to exist has a cause.
Okay, so that's the slightly different version that comes after Augustine.
Well, that's what I said. Okay, so
well, then you'd say God exists, right?
Would I say God begins to exist?
Well, at some point you would have to say that. Why? Why would you?
Because then you'd have the problem of infinite regression. Because if God began to exist, then we'd have to find its cause, and then we'd have to find its cause, and we'd have to find its cause. Until we have an original cause that's uncaused, we'll never start the process.
You say God not just has all